My name is Bruce MacKenzie. I've been active with the Mars Society since the beginning. Was on the steering committee as soon as they allowed, the second wave of people to come in. I've also been active in the National Space Society, founded the Mars Foundation. And I've been doing a lot of work on designing Mars settlements. And it's frustrating to me to see all this. First, there was very little interest for a long time, and then suddenly there was a wave of interest, but all. So the Mars Society had these two contests, and for settlement design and city design. And it's frustrating that we had 100 teams a year ago and 175 teams this year, but every team is designing a settlement privately. People get together with their friends, they form a team, and they kind of keep it secret because they're entering a contest. So all this work has been done separately in private and in competition. And then you just summarize it in a few pages, present it, put it in a book, and there may or may not be any follow through. So that's what I'm hoping to avoid. Oh, good, my arrow keys work. I want to take a break and step back. So anyway, I try to show two slides every time I give a presentation to a Mars community, and bear with me for a minute. I think that the eventual home for civilization and humanity is not just on Mars, but it's throughout the entire solar system and maybe beyond. There was some work done at Princeton years ago, like almost 40, 50 years ago, that figured out that the asteroids have enough material to build millions of space settlements. And every space settlement could have climate control, its own agriculture, industry. And if you use the asteroids, the total usable land area inside all these millions of space settlements would be 3,000 times the Earth's land area. And that just boggles people's mind when it finally sinks in. So someday the majority of your descendants will not live on Earth. Assuming we can get the first factory out there, that's where our home is. Far greater land area and resources than Earth or Mars or the terrestrial planets put together. So that's what motivates me, and I think Mars is a good starting place for that. The reason to start with Mars is you can grow food, you have water to grow food, carbon to grow food, and nitrogen to grow food. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Sort of like in real estate, the important thing is location, location, location. So if you're ever discussing where's the best place to go in this solar system, Moon, Mars, asteroids, free space, Mars is a great place to start because of the food. But I hope we go on beyond and not just say get stuck at the moon. In addition, Mars has carbon to make polymers, enough water for industrial processing. Unlike free space, it has an atmosphere so you can replenish air leaks. The dirt has everything that dirt has on the Earth, although not necessarily as ore bodies. It's a reasonable day length. And if we can settle Mars, we will have to master interplanetary travel and life support and how to manage a biosphere. And learning how to manage a biosphere might have lessons useful to manage the Earth's biosphere. So that's all the preaching I'm going to do. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay, so we have back to the topic at hand. We have all this work on Mars settlement, but it's not coordinated. So let's get together and try to do that. I'm proposing that we start a Mars settlement study group. I tried it last year's to do something somewhat similar. And we used to have a bunch of task forces more than 10 years ago. So anyway, propose that it's a group of people that get together periodically, stay in touch, maybe via Slack, regular meetings, and we try to collect the knowledge for permanent settlement of Mars, especially construction and the technology, but also if people are interested, we could collect together ideas for non-technical things, the economic, the social, etc. This also might be a networking group where you can meet other people who have similar ideas, and maybe you want to go off and design some specific thing for Mars or enter a contest together. And as I said, I will open this up to wide-ranging talk soon. So this proposed Mars settlement study group might have telecons, discussion groups. We might sponsor guest speakers. I would like to assemble a Mars construction guide. It would have been a book 50 years ago. Now it might be a wiki or a website. If teams have put together designs for specific plans, we could review the plans and help them out with it, give critiques, maybe run tutorials, etc. Let's see. So collect descriptions, and I'll get more into the how-to, the how-to guidebook, and ask for sponsorship from other organizations: Mars University, Mars Foundation, a National Space Society group, various Mars Society and National Space Society chapters. In order to do this, I've tried to do this in the past by myself, and it's a tremendous amount of work and ends up being very limited. So we need a team of people to help out. People to be a webinar host, people to coordinate the social media, administration, just keeping track of behind the scenes details, such as a list of email addresses or who's got passwords to what. Especially people to edit websites. Later, people who have technical and other skills can join in, but I really want to get a group of people to do the coordinating and leadership and editing and administration before we recruit a bunch of mechanical engineers. I've got my email address on a lot of the slides. You can also, if you're interested, you can also type your contact information in the past. I'm sorry, in the chat. If you gave me your contact information a year ago, I will be contacting you. So this slide is the pastel thing in the left side was my original suggestion to a design group, and they came up with the hillside settlement down below. So, these things can be effective. These were people recruited from the Mars Society and other groups. About half of the people working on this plan were from the Mars Society. Let's see, interest of time. Okay, one thing that hasn't been done a lot is detailed small manufacturing, interior furnishings. So do you see a slide that says interior furnishings?
Yes.
Good. All right. So just if somebody wants to figure out how to make a chair or this concrete chess table out with a 3D printer or a laser cutter, that's something useful that can be done. It doesn't require that you put together a team and enter a contest for the entire base. There's lots of little things that people can do. Here is a homemade router and a homemade laser cutter that could be used on Mars. And anybody can go into a maker space and practice, trying out how to make furniture on Mars. Here is a solar sintering thing for sintering glass you can use to make small objects. These are just kind of mood shots for some of the things that people might be interested in. By the way, this using animal products, using plant products is something that people might be interested in and be able to contribute. By the way, this person, do you see a flock of goats in the middle bottom? Their shepherd is named Simon, and there's if anybody knows what Simon's full name is, and I'll give you a hint, there's airplane hangars in the back this flock. Another mood shot, people might want to say, lay out the inside of a greenhouse, a habitat, or a rover. Okay, I'm going to leave this slide up, hoping that people will volunteer to help out with administrative things, behind the scenes, coordination. So if anybody's interested, please email me or put your contact information in the chat, and do so in the next 8 minutes so that we don't lose it.
Could you maybe describe what the actions of the work group might be over the next 6 months or a year? Like, what would the goal be? Just for those of us who aren't familiar.
Yeah, just a minute. Okay, so I propose that there be regular meetings, and that we also sponsor regular things over the internet. Some of them would be presentations by somebody. It could be kind of design sessions where somebody makes a proposal and asks for advice. So I had a slide to that effect. Enrico said open source design for Mars settlement. Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. So activities, they were on one of my slides. It is running webinars, discussion groups. If we could scour the web and look for things that are good quality, appear to be reliable, and collect together a lot of existing information, maybe have links to them. Does that, so, and then if people want to, then they might want to form teams that would work on a specific project, or maybe enter a contest, something like that. But the point is, rather than having lots of 175 separate teams all working separately, try to get the information all in one place. My favorite topic is a source book. It would be sort of, I had one slide on this. It would be sort of a how to build on Mars, sort of a how-to book. But it would be in the form of web pages or wiki pages. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
In reality, it would be anything people want it to be.
I also want to point out that Michael Lawrence is asking, he's a volunteer and a mechanical engineering student at Columbia University, and would love to share the information to other students there.
Good, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Are people able to unmute if they want to?
Yes, there's no restriction for muting or unmuting.
So if anybody wants to say something, just unmute yourself and say so.
Sure. Hi, Bruce. This is Daniel Tompkins.
Oh, yes.
I had just a quick comment. Maybe a Mars building code would be interesting to write. All the plumbing is a different grade, because of the different gravity. The surface area of walls, for if they're going to be pressurized, to a certain pressure, it couldn't exceed a certain amount. So it might be interesting to organize this around building codes.
Yeah, Mars building code, Dan Tompkins suggests. Although I don't want to be negative, a lot of building codes are interpreted as what you cannot do. But yeah, that's a fun idea.
That might be a good starting point to draw some boxes around possibilities.
I just realized I should do a print screen.
In terms of adding resources for people to work with, designing what type of habitat they could stick together, what type of airlock they can use easily. I was noticing on another discussion, running a water line on Mars means having a frozen line.
Yep.
And I was suggesting having the line below ice instead of pushing water, so that it doesn't freeze up any further, and then you melt it when it gets to its destination.
Are you saying you blow ice with a gas?
Yes, either
Yeah.
CO2,
Sure.
argon, whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
So it goes along a larger pipe, and then it doesn't freeze.
Yeah, that reminds me, there's coal slurry lines. What they do at some coal mines is crush the coal and they pump it through a pipeline with just enough oil to make it flow. And then they burn the combination of oil and coal. Okay, so, but what I'm talking about now is collecting that information and having a place to put it where people can find it. And, you know, maybe you could, if somebody does want to design a specific settlement for a specific purpose at a specific site, maybe they can go into our kind of database and pick and choose the technologies and stick them together to make their plan. One of which might be that water pipeline.
I like the idea from Jonathan Gale. The basic concept: create a wiki of practical aspects of building a settlement. Basically, the Wikipedia Mark Watney wished he had of things thought out ahead of time by people on Earth.
Yep. Yeah, good comment.
Even something as basic as, you know, the dome size. You know, if we're going to make a greenhouse dome, you know, if it's made out of plastic, you know, what's the maximum, you know, realistic diameter for something like that? You know, even fleshing out, you know, some of these, you know, kind of killing, you know, the space elevator kind of concepts, you know, at least on, you know, Earth-based, you know, are there certain things we can kind of cross out or say this is possible up to this point using these materials?
Yeah. By the way, you hit a sore point for me. I think domes are very overrated. They're hard to construct. It's hard to get the fabric to curve. It's hard to tie them down. Much better to have long, skinny cylinders that are tied down with a smaller arch or underneath. And someday I want to write a comparison between cylinders and domes. So
there's also the hoop stress.
Yes. Yeah. Precisely.
Much lower hoop stress. That's why high pressure helium tanks are long and thin.
Yep. All right. So thank you, everybody. You can write to me at, well, I'll get it if you just write to info@mars.university. I'll get it. info@mars.university. Goes to myself and Cole, who I think is here somewhere. And I put my contact information in my other address. You can copy out of the chat, bmackenzie@alum.mit.edu. All right, I'm kind of talked out. Thank you, everybody. Let's get together probably on Discord and see what happens.